Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used this really fun team featuring Weakness Policy Metagross and Bulldoze Mystical Fire Latias, so we'll be playing a couple more games with it today. To get things started, we are going up against a Sun team. I mean, this was basically the most common team archetype back in Series 8. You just replace Landorus with maybe a Zacian or a Groudon, for example. So, let's see. How do we want to approach this? Fini is actually really interesting because it is max speed, and I have max, Geyser and Hailstorm with this. So, like, I could theoretically just go Whimsicott Fini. Metagross is obviously not amazing here, especially because we don't have, like, a Rock-type attack. We can't really hit Charizard for that much. We have a Lucky, we have Urshifu, Banded Urshifu, and Latias. Latias with Mystical Fire is a little bit compelling here. One lead we could do is like Whimsicott Latias, Tailwind Mystical Fire just to disrupt a little bit in the early game, and then bring Fini out. Fini, and then Aleki's only real value is against my opponent's Charizard. I feel like it's probably Urshifu. I could obviously go like Whimsicott Fini instead, but I don't mind. Even if I get one extra turn of Dynamax relative to my opponent, I think that gives us a really big advantage. So, I think the goal here is to Dynamax the Tapu Fini, and we'll see how things go. Either way, thank you so much as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hope everyone is enjoying Series 9, aka Series 7 so far. Definitely is, a different change of pace from what we've been playing previously, but I've been having a lot of fun, so yeah. Okay, it's going to be Aleki plus Charizard, which doesn't feel amazing to me here. I mean, I can obviously Tailwind and Mystical Fire. Okay, alternatively, I can actually Fake Tears the Charizard and Tailwind with the Latias. I'm probably going to get hit by a G-Max Wildfire onto Whimsicott here, I would think. So, yeah, I honestly don't mind going for... Well, actually, my opponent could go Electro Web, Wildfire, never mind. So I think we have to Tailwind here with Whimsicott. And I'll go for a Mystical Fire here onto a Lucky. Okay, so they are going to end up maxing. Could also just be Volt Switch, G-Max Wildfire, or Airstream. Both of those are valid. If I led Fini, I could have actually just gone turn 1 Tailwind Max Geyser, but the thing is, if it's Sash Aleki, it's a really big problem for us. So I don't mind breaking a potential Sash because that paves the way for Tapu Fini to really try to sweep in this endgame. So let's see what they go for turn 1. Either way, getting Tailwind up is always valuable for us here. So even with the speed boost from like Max Airstream, we should outspeed. Oh, actually, I guess the scary thing here is if you give the speed boost onto Aleki, if you Airstream here rather than Wildfire. But they're just going to Volt Switch. Okay, cool. If it's Volt Switch out into Torkoal and then they Wildfire, that's great for us, because then I can just go into Fini freely and then just Max Geyser. And I went Mystical Fire there onto a Lucky because I wanted to break a potential Focus Sash, because otherwise that's a really big problem for our side of the field. So Fini is going to be able to come out in a pretty good spot. Yep, there's the Wildfire, and they are going to target down... Ooh, okay, they're actually going to target down Latias, which I don't mind, because you just gave me a free switch into Fini, right? And I have Tailwind, and I have Fake Tear. So this next turn I can just go Fake Tears Max Geyser. Very little downside. I guess the thing here is whether or not I want to protect Max Guard from Charizard, and then, like, Geyser into the Torkoal slot instead. That might be safer. But then they could get an Airstream boost with that Charizard. And if you don't expect Fake Tears here, you're probably thinking you can survive. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Fake Tears, Charizard, Max, Geyser. If that one-shots Charizard, Torkoal is completely useless. We change the weather, we've broken a Lucky Sash, and even if we lose Whimsicott, then it's Banded Urshifu under Tailwind with 2 turns, as well as Tapu Fini. So that puts us in a really good spot. The thing here is it is a little bit tempting to read into Max Guard on Charizard. If I read into Max Guard and one-shot Torkoal, it feels like we win the game off that. But here, the worst case is what? Charizard Max Guards, Torkoal KOs us. Or not KOs us, sorry. KOs the Whimsicott. Let's see if they anticipate Fake Tears here. Beautiful. Okay, they don't. Nice. So I'm thinking Fake Tears plus Geyser here is enough to KO. I'm actually not 100% sure. Let's see. It would be a pretty big problem if Charizard survived here, actually. It's taking a little bit of chip damage, obviously, from the Life Orb and the Solar Power, and it actually hangs on. Oof. Okay, that's definitely a little bit of a bummer, but it should faint from Life Orb here, so could be worse. Just not amazing. Not really what we want to see here. Yeah, they're going to Airstream into Fini. Still a fair amount of damage here. But I think it should faint from Life Orb. So, yeah, a little bit of a shame we couldn't pick up that KO, but that's alright. It does faint from Life Orb at least. So, we have 2 extra turns of Dynamax to work with here, essentially. I don't think a Fire-type... Well, Fire-type attack plus Wildfire might be enough to KO the Whimsicott, but Whimsicott fainting here is actually not bad for us. But they actually just go for Burning Jealousy, so that's not going to do enough. So, I think we're in pretty good shape right now. Missing out on that KO is definitely a little bit scary, because if we had just picked up the knockout, Fini wouldn't have taken any damage, and it'd be in a really good spot. But once again, the upside is that we're max speed Fini, so we actually outspeed max speed Regieleki under Tailwind. So, the only concern now is if you are really speed... Sorry, if you're Choice Scarfaleki for some reason. I don't mind just going for a Moonblast here onto the Torkoal slot and another Geyser into the Aleki slot. Okay, they don't protect. Nice. Moonblast might have actually just KO'd the Aleki in that position. So maybe it was better to go for that. But I think it's reasonable to assume Aleki Protect, Torkoal switch out in that position. So I don't mind going for this play. This is where max speed Life Orb Tapu Fini just comes up so huge for us. Get a crit there. I don't think that really mattered. Could have gone for Hailstorm. No, I think it's still best to just have Geyser up. They're just going to Burning Jealousy. And you can see this is like the downside of using like the really bulky Torkoal with Burning Jealousy and Yawn and Body Press. We actually hang on with exactly 1 HP. I would have preferred to have actually gotten the free switch it into Urshifu, because then we just get Banded Urshifu in an Under Tailwind, and that should just obliterate whatever my opponent's last one is. It's going to be Landorus, though, which I'm more than okay with, because now we can just go for... we have a bunch of different plays we can make here. I think Geyser should KO the Torkoal here. There's still Wildfire, 1 turn. Actually, I mean, I don't really need to worry about Torkoal, right? Why not just go for a Hailstorm, eliminate the Landorus? Urshifu should seal up the game now, too. Yeah, I'll just Moonblast into Torkoal and Hailstorm into... let's just double up on the Landorus to be a little bit safer. Well, actually, it's probably Citrus Torkoal anyway, so I prefer to double up onto Landorus here. Okay, no Protect comes out, and yeah, this was just the Tapu Fini game. So if you're looking for a Sun answer, like, Fini with Tailwind is actually really, really sweet. It was perfect for us here. And this is exactly why I didn't want to lead it, right? If my opponent leads Aleki, they could even theoretically Dynamax Regieleki just to deal with my Tapu Fini. So this reminds me once again very much of Game 1 in yesterday's episode, where it's like I had the late game Dynamax, but after turn 1, I feel considerably more comfortable maxing. Like, just being able to even eliminate something like a Focus Sash on your opponent's end can give you such a major advantage. So, yeah. In the end, I think Venusaur didn't come out, and that was good for us. Venusaur probably could have been a little bit scarier. Like, late game Landorus, I wasn't really nervous about at all, but can see why my opponent would want to bring it, considering we have a Metagross on this team. So, yeah, this was just not the matchup for Metagross. Sun is not a good matchup for Metagross in general, especially because the Metagross on this team doesn't have max Rockfall. So, using Latias for that early Mystical Fire was nice. And then Fini with Life Orb is actually just such a consistent max option into Sun if you can, you know, not get hit by Venusaur, for example. So, all the tricks really coming out to play here. We can just go for Wicked Blow now and go for Moonblast. No need to risk a Muddy Water miss. I think Choice Band Wicked Blow KOs Torkoal from this range, but I'm actually not 100% sure, so let's see. Either way, I think Life Orb Moonblast should finish it off even if it survives and has Citrus. Yeah, so it actually is able to hang on. But I'd be surprised if Torkoal can take a Life Orb Moonblast here. Especially at, yeah, just over 25%. So, I think there actually was a potential to lose that game if we miss Muddy Water. Like, if you go for Muddy Water, you miss, and then Torkoal goes, like, crit Body Press into Urshifu. Then, with a couple turns of Hail left, Torkoal could actually stall out the Protect. You'd have to basically get 2 Protects, right? Because then I wouldn't have taken the Moonblast chip. So, yeah. No need to risk a miss there. Wicked Blow Moonblast always secures up the win there. So, yeah, pretty solid first game there for the day. Next match of the day, and this is a pretty cool team. Reminds me very much of VGC 2012 and 2013, actually. It's got half of my Worlds team from 2013 with Heatran, Landers, and Rotom, so that's cool. Porygon basically replaces the Cresselia. No Conkeldurr, though. But, let's see. I mean, this feels like a pretty good game for Metagross, but it has to worry about Will-O-Wisp, Rotom Wash. Hilariously enough. And there's double Fake Out here, so I do have to be a little bit careful about leading Whimsicott, because if I lead Whimsicott, you could just Fake Out and then KO it with something like Landorus or Heatran, for example. I think Rotom Wash is actually a very big issue for us here. It's probably the best Pokemon on my opponent's team. The problem is also, like, Max Metagross can't actually handle it very well. We barely do damage to it, so, like, that's why I think Rotom Wash is actually a really interesting option in the format right now. Fini's actually very good offensively here as well. And we're max speed, which might give us a huge advantage here. Man, I'm really not too sure about this one. Because, like, Metagross on paper looks really good, but it just struggles so much against Rotom. Whereas against Rotom, I could get, like, Whimsicott, Fini. Latios is kind of cool here, but it would really only be for Mystical Fire, so I guess I'll just go with Metagross and Urshifu in the back, because regular Metagross is actually pretty darn good offensively here, and we could still max it based off how the lead works out here, but yeah, I think Rotom Wash is actually very good against this team specifically, especially if it's the Will-O-Wisp variant, because then Metagross can't just set up. Yeah, and it's like, my best way to deal with Rotom is actually just max Hailstorm on Metagross. That's like, when one Pokemon on your opponent's team walls you so hard, I feel like you just can't go towards that option. This ends up being a pretty good lead for us, though. They go with the Grimmsnarl and the Heatran. So, what do I want to do here? I could Fake Tears, Max Geyser, Heatran. If I'm expecting Fake Out, I could switch Whimsicott out. They do obviously have a switch in, though, into the Geyser, and that's Rillaboom. So, like, I might not want to Dynamax here just because I want to respect the threat of Rillaboom. Heatran's in a really bad spot here, unless you have Fake Out on Grimmsnarl and you go for Fake Out Heat Wave turn 1. Otherwise, what we can do is just knock out Grimmsnarl, honestly. Okay, let's say they Fake Out Heat Wave, I Moonblast, then we KO them. That's not bad for us, because then we get a free switch into Metagross, right? Okay. I think I'm actually just going to double Moonblast turn 1 and get rid of Grimmsnarl so that it only gets one attack off at best. And they switch out Heatran, perfect. I expect Rillaboom. Yeah. That's why we didn't want to max Fini, right? If you get baited into maxing Fini there and your opponent brings in Rillaboom, we're in terrible shape. Because how in the world do we deal with Rillaboom afterwards? They can just Glide us. I guess because we have max Hailstorm, like Glide maybe doesn't one-shot us. But this is a good start to the game for sure. Because we'll essentially have KO'd the Grimmsnarl here for my opponent getting up Light Screen. Now, Light Screen's obviously tough, but now we could actually maybe even think about maxing the Metagross. And so, yeah, just because, like, I felt like my opponent's Heatran was in a pretty bad spot, and a lot of Grimmsnarls aren't even running Fake Out, so it's like, if they don't have Fake Out on turn 1, you can't really knock out the Whimsicott, and so I don't even have to worry that much about a Heat Wave. Like, the worst case scenario, there's Fake Out Heat Wave, but you don't want to risk that in case the Fini just gets a Calm Mind or Muddy Water off, right? There is an argument to be made to staying in with Heatran, just because, yeah, maybe you're not that worried about the damage output from Tapu Fini, but now this is pretty good for us. So what's really interesting here is we are, you know, speedy. I think the right place to switch Fini out. Gosh, we don't really have great switch-ins here, though. We could just max Fini still, even with Rillaboom out on the field, but like, if you're my opponent, it's very easy to just go Fake Out onto the Whimsicott and then Heat Wave onto it, right? Or you could just Glide / Woodhammer into Fini. Yeah, this is honestly a pretty weird spot to be in. I think I'm going to switch Fini out into Rillaboom here. Or sorry, Urshifu. I don't know if I need a Tailwind here, honestly. I think it's better to just play it safe, Tailwind, and switch out. But Charm is honestly really... Both Charm and Fake Tears here are both really tempting. So, I think the best play to make from their end is just Fake Out Heat Wave. We don't have Protect here, so I don't have great counterplay to that. But, oh, they're going to max, okay. Honestly, don't mind seeing a max here right now. Curious who it is. Heatran? Okay. The reason you max there is, yeah, if you're a little bit afraid of the damage output coming out from Tapu Fini. But this means now that you're not going for Fake Out and Heat Wave, right? Which means, like, I should survive with at least one of the Pokemon. They are just going to Fake Out here into Whimsicott. Yeah, that's fine. Because now I just brought in Urshifu for free, right? And that's pretty nice. And they're going to flare. See, like, I feel like they didn't need to go for the max flare there. Because now the thing is, you give me a free switch in, which is really good for us. I guess the upside for them is that I don't get Tailwind up. I can bring in Fini back in, obviously. And we can change the terrain. I have close combat. And I'm max speed Fini. I've banded Wicked Blow. I just, like, the play I want to make here is just max Fini, max Geyser, and close combat into Heatran. With Choice Band, I'm thinking that's enough to just pick up the KO. And they're probably not expecting Choice Band right now. So, I think I'm going to go for that. We have to be pretty careful, though, in this late game against Rillaboom. We don't have any bulk on Fini, so I don't know if, like, a Grassy Seed, Grassy Glide just one-shots Tapu Fini in terrain, and that's part of the problem. They're going to switch out Rillaboom, though, so that's a good start for us. Well, I guess Landorus is a big problem here because you just get the Intimidate off, so now I don't think close combat KOs. But now we have Metagross. We still get a lot of damage, and we change the weather. They should Steel Spike us. So it's going to be Fini and Metagross likely against Landorus, Heatran, and Rillaboom. Now Rillaboom's actually... Metagross, not Rillaboom. Metagross is very good against all of those, but they'll likely outspeed us. That's part of the problem. I'm not 100% sure if Heatran outspeeding us, actually. Okay, yeah, if they didn't get the Intimidate off, we would have KO'd, so that was a great switching on their end. That's fine, though. I don't regret this too much. Yeah, I don't think this is KOing in the sun, unfortunately. It's going to hang out like 10-20%. A little bit more, actually. Pretty impressive there, I have to say. Is it Assault Vest? Because that did less than I expected. That definitely did less than I expected. They do correctly Steel Spike here as well into Urshifu. Yeah, well played. So, now I get the free switch into Metagross. I have the weather advantage, which is a really big deal. But they have late game Rillaboom, and that's a big problem for us. The thing here is, like, you probably protect Heatran, right? You could even switch it out into Rillaboom. Ooh, that would actually be a really nice play. Like, the play I want to make here is to protect the Metagross and Hailstorm into the Landorus slot. What's the alternative? Just Geyser into Heatran, Ice Punch into Landorus? The problem with that is if they protect Heatran and they Earthquake here, you bring in Rillaboom for free. I'm really leaning towards Hailstorming Landorus here and protecting the Metagross. I don't know if that's the right play, though. Okay. We're either faster than Heatran or they're just not maxing there. Okay, good. They max guarded. Yeah, nice. I think here either U-turn or Earthquake both make sense, but wow, we actually outspeed the Landorus. Okay, sick. So that's a one-hit KO. However, we did just get rid of... And it's not Assault Vest Heatran. Man, it's just really bulky. Kind of underestimated its bulk. This is the upside of max speed Fini, right? You catch a lot of Pokemon off guard. Was kind of a waste in the protect there in the end. Oh, we're faster than Heatran. Okay, that's really good to know. However, if they're Shookaberry, they bring the grassy terrain back up now. This is still really scary, right? Okay. I protected with Metagross last turn, ends up being kind of a waste, but I think it's fine to protect there, assuming they might consider Earthquaking. I mean, the other question is, does Grassy Glide actually one-shot us here? Oh, I forgot about Light Screen. That's why it survived. I'm so silly. They have a defense boost, Grassy Terrain, Shuka, like it should survive, and I feel like Glide just KOs Fini here. The play I honestly want to make is to just a max guard and EQ. We don't have any bulk. I just don't know my Rillaboom calc super well. I think it's better to protect here. I'm going for the Geyser because maybe they also predict us to max guard here. And yeah, they do. Nice. Okay, good. ends up being the right play then. Yeah, I mean, if we max guard there and they just fake out Heat Wave, we lose the game, right? So, okay. I do want to do the Calc because I think it might have KO'd us. And so this turn kind of came down to whether or not you glide Fini. But they don't know. They might not know that we don't have any bulk on the Fini. So I figured we had that playing towards our in our favor right now. Nice. Okay. That was a really scary game. Heatran was very good for my opponent here. So well played by them. Just want to do the Calc now. Now it should be over, right? Because, like, you can't deal with Metagross. But Tapu Fini with no bulk. We're at, like, what? 80% against Rillaboom. Grassy Glide in the grassy terrain. Dynamax, no bulk. With Seed. This is... I think we would have survived anyway. So because we would have survived, the play is always to Geyser because they had protected last turn. So yeah, we just objectively ended up making the best play. I was just worried about Glide one-shotting us. But the thing is, Earthquake just doesn't do enough damage in that endgame anyway, right? The Protect play this turn, I think, was actually to protect Fini there, by the way. But I don't think a crit knockoff or high horsepower KOs us anyway. And Ice Punch should be a 2-hit KO onto Rillaboom. Oh, it's not! Okay, well this gets a little bit interesting. But we're faster than Rillaboom, so yeah. I don't think they really have an out here. Is there any reason to try to stall out terrain? How many turns of terrain are left? 3? I could protect. Ice Punch isn't KOing anyway. So I actually think it is correct to protect here. Just because we know we outspeed. So we don't want them to basically get more than... We don't want them to get any Grassy Glides off, basically. Okay, yeah, they have knockoff, but... that's why it would have been better to protect Tapu Fini earlier, just because it was a 2v1 scenario. Well, typically in 2v1 scenarios, you want to just go for attacks, but I think it actually makes some sense to protect there. Maybe crit knockoff actually KOs us. That'd be pretty scary. We don't have any bulk here. But if it doesn't crit, then the game's definitely over. So yeah. Here's knockoff. Okay, nice. Yeah, even with the crit, I think we would have survived based off that damage roll. And you see the interesting interaction between knockoff and policy, where it actually doesn't knock off the policy and just activates it instead. So yeah. The reason I went for Protect there earlier is because if they crit, we don't want them to win off a Grassy Glide. Like, let's say crit brings us to 10%, then they could possibly win with the Grassy Glide if we didn't Protect. So, might as well just stall out the Grassy Terrain because Ice Punch wasn't a 2-way KO anyway. Sure, they get a little bit of recovery, but that recovery is basically insignificant in the long run here. So, yeah. Heatran was really cool. In the end, Fini being as fast as it was is so good. So, today is really all about Tapu Fini, and I really love, Life Orb max speed Fini, because people just don't expect it to hit very hard typically, right? They expect a Calm Mind to come out, or maybe support-oriented set with like Heal Pulse, for example. But with Calm Mind, you can put in with Life Orb max speed, you can outspeed a lot of things and just put in so much work. So yeah, Fini has definitely been the clear MVP of today's episode. But the Heatran on my opponent's team, very, very scary. The upside is, with having Whimsicott and the Fini, we were able to just eliminate Grimmsnarl, and that allowed us to, use our physical attackers without Reflect being up. And that's why I wanted to eliminate it. You either get Light Screen Reflect up, but you can't get both of them up if I double up onto you. And that gave us certainly a good advantage. So, yeah. Either way, let's get into the third match. This team is awesome. Okay. Coballion, Togekiss. I always get it mixed up between Galarian, Corsola, and Cursola. That's the pre-evolution, obviously. That's just Galarian Cursola, right? Whimsicott Coballion was what? It was like one of my first Series 7 teams. Was it Series 7? Series 6. Oh my gosh, I'm getting it all mixed up. So it's pretty cool to see that. I don't really know what to expect here, and that's always scary. I mean, Whimsicott Coballion's very scary, right? With beat-up potential. You don't have a strong Fire-type attack into Coballion. Our best bet is Max Quake from Metagross. I mean, I could just go Latios Metagross. Because even at +4, Coballion shouldn't knock out Metagross. Alternatively, it's just to go Whimsicott, set up Tailwind, and then bring out Latios and Metagross. Maybe I'm okay with that, too. I feel like we're definitely playing towards Metagross in this one. I just don't know how. I kind of want to try out Latios Metagross. You know what? Okay, I'm actually going to go Whimsicott Aleki, Latios Metagross. The idea behind this is even if we trade Tailwinds, I can Electro Web to drop the Coballion speed. Right now, I'm like really honing in on Whimsicott Coballion, by the way. Like, there's a very good chance they don't even lead that or even bring out the Coballion, but Coballion is like one of those Pokemon where if you leave it unchecked for one turn, it can't sweep through you, right? Because there's also, it's like Terrakion or Coalossal, for example, where it just gets boosted way too quickly. So they're going to go with Whimsicott and Coballion. Okay, so, you know, that's the lead we were expecting to see, but still a pretty strong lead from my opponent. We have Charm as well. Although the other day I was practicing with this team and I ran into a Whimsicott, a Terrakion lead, and they had White Herb, so that's something to potentially be careful of. Do they just beat up turn 1? You could just beat up Max Rockfall Whimsicott. The play I wanted to make was what? Tailwind Electro Web? Maybe I should have just led Latios Metagross. If I led Latios Metagross, I could have just gone, what, Bulldoze Max Quake? I feel like Latios Metagross was actually the play here. Don't know why I was so scared of leading it. Because Coballion can't one-shot Latios. Latios is faster on it as well, so then if you'd either... Well, then they could beat up Max Airstream. Oh, that'd be interesting. But then I could just go for Max Quake anyway. So, I don't know. I don't really like my play turn 1 here. If I'm my opponent, I'm going for beat up Max Rockfall into Whimsicott. Okay, we get webs off. It's pretty good damage. I mean, the whole point was to get the speed drop, so then I can just bring out something else and then just double up onto Coballion. Yeah, they're going to go for beat up, which is fine. That's expected. Now the reality is that even if you get Tailwind up, your Coballion's slower than my Metagross, and that's the main thing. What are the other Pokemon my opponent has that are big offensive threats? I have Togekiss, Dracozolt. I mean, Metagross beats all of those very easily. We could even max Gieleki if going into this next turn, depending on how this plays out. Because that doesn't look like Assault Vest Coballion to me. It's probably better to just Thunderbolt Max Quake, though. I would think that's enough for a KO unless they get a boost here. Okay, they are going to go for Airstream, so they do negate the speed drop. Oh, interesting. Into a Gieleki. Oh, that was actually a really perfect play by them. Yeah, that was well done. That was very well done. Okay. Airstream's a really big issue now, because now you can just Tailwind with your Whimsicott. I don't think Max Quake KOs them from the range that they're at, and that's the problem. I have Charm, but at what good does that do? Okay, hear me out. This might seem really crazy, but the play I'm actually leaning towards right now is I'm going to bring out this Latios, and what I want to do is actually go for Fake Tears onto this thing, Max, and Max Flare. I know that seems wild, but if we KO, like, it gives us such an advantage. I don't know, otherwise the play was to bring out Metagross, but there's no way Max Quick was KOing from that range. And based off how much they took from Electro Web, like, they don't look very specially invested. Yeah, I'm gonna go for this. I don't think it's, like, the smartest play, but I also didn't play turn 1 very smartly. Like, I should have just led Latios Metagross to begin with in this game, I think. And just gone Bulldoze Max Quake turn 1. Because, like I specifically pointed out how, like, Metagross wasn't that scary, or scared from Coballion. So, I don't know why I didn't prioritize Metagross more in this game, but, yeah, I think this could be a really interesting setup with Latios, so let's see. Okay, we get the Fake Tears off. Space 130 Max Flare, but we don't really have that much special attack investment. Yeah, they go for Tailwind. I mean, if we one-shot Coballion, like, hey, we're actually in pretty good shape, because we'll have 2 extra turns of Max to work with. So, let's see. I feel like Coballion's going to survive with like 10%. It survived with even more. Never mind. That didn't work out too well. You know what, though? It's still okay because we... Oh, no, but they're just going to Airstream us now, right? Yeah, now you outspeed us. Okay. That was a cute play, but it didn't work. My clear lesson here was that I should have just led Latios Metagross, because, like, they didn't even have that much to threaten Latios Metagross. I guess they had Urshifu, but Whimsicott Coballion is, like, the lead we expected, too, and they brought it out. Their turn 1 play was really, really smart, though. Like, that was super well done on their end. Max Guard on Latios here is pretty obvious. Like, if I'm my opponent, I'm doubling up onto Whimsicott. But I feel like we're so far behind, we need to make a big play anyway, so might as well just hope for them to mess up and target Latias here. And Moonblast the Coballion. Yeah, Coballion took that a little bit better than I was hoping. Just based off how much Electro Web did, I guess this Latias like really doesn't have any offense, right? So if he had like max special attack EVs, like maybe that works. Okay, they do Moonblast into Latias, so that's good. We should knock out Coballion here at least. And they're gonna Rockfall, yeah. But maybe this is doable. Moonblast should KO Coballion. I'll have one last turn of Dynamax to work with, and I do have Metagross. So like this is actually still very winnable, actually. Assuming Moonblast KOs here, but at -2 special defense. Yeah, okay, good. Nice. Yeah, I think from my opponent's perspective, like doubling up onto Whimsicott, I don't know. Like it makes sense to spread your damage because you already have the early advantage, right? So the Airstream was just so smart because if you go for anything else, then Aleki consistently outspeeds you and keeps dropping your speed, which sets me up for the late game. I think Latias should take a Moonblast here from the Whimsicott. So the question is really what they have in the back here. We're gonna bring out our Metagross. And ooh, it's Urshifu. Yeah, they played this really perfectly. That's not what we want to see because that just KOs Metagross. We don't have Bullet Punch here, so it's a clean GG, I think, at this point. Our only hope would be for them to really mess up somehow. We like somehow managed to KO Urshifu with Flare and Quake, but like I should have just countered Whimsicott Coballion harder. So if I were to replay this, I would just lead Latias Metagross. I think that's just the play. If we had max Airstream here, it actually could have been pretty interesting. Like, you know, give a speed boost. And so, like, the only way we have... Actually, Flare does so little damage there. Yeah. I don't think bringing out Metagross was right, but the main thing is that we lost this game off the lead, honestly. And I was just talking about how you need to respect Whimsicott Coballion, but my opponent going for Airstream onto Aleki didn't really fully expect, and it was a very good play on their end. So... I think if I were to replay this, especially expecting Whimsicott Coballion, which I kind of did, I don't know, I should have just gone Latias Metagross. I was just hoping the max Flare. Yeah, I thought that could be a really cool play, but with no special attack investment, we needed more damage in the end onto the Coballion, so yeah. But, yeah, really cool team. And I loved Coballion when it first was allowed in the format, so I'm a big believer in it. I think if we just let Latias Metagross, turn 1 was a pretty free Bulldoze Max Quake. I actually want to calculate whether or not Max Quake KOs Coballion, though. Coballion will have a little bit of chip damage, obviously, but I feel like it should. Earthquake, max, +2 attack. Oh, it actually doesn't KO. It does 74% minimum to no HP. Anyway, they've won this game. So, Latias and Coballion doesn't... Sorry, Latias Metagross isn't like a guaranteed victory, but between the Bulldoze... Yeah, Bulldoze and like beat up just a little chip, though, so you shouldn't really count on that. And then the problem is Coballion at +4 can knuckle into Metagross, right? That does so much damage, actually. +4 max knuckle does, against our Metagross, 49 to 58%. And then they can just knuckle it again. So maybe Latias Metagross doesn't actually work out as well as I intended it to. Coballion in general was just a really big threat there. I could have Thunder Waved Coballion, actually. Maybe that was the play. Maybe it's still fine to go Latias Metagross. Oh, you know what I can do with Latias Metagross? I can Bulldoze Steel Spike. That activates Policy, drops Coballion speed, also KOs Whimsicott. So that means you either only get Tailwind or Beat Up off, but not both. But then I still have to deal with my opponent's Urshifu in the back, right? But then I have Tailwind on Latias. Yeah, okay, I think the right play, if I were to go up against that team again, is Latias Metagross lead. Bulldoze Steel Spike into Whimsicott turn 1. We have, and then we bring Whimsicott in the back. I guess the problem is I have to rely on a really strong max move in dealing with Coballion, and Max Flare is obviously not cutting it, so it basically needs to be Max Quake from the Metagross. But I do think, yeah, Latias Metagross is the right approach there. Because Coballion never one-shots Latias unless you're boosted, so you either Tailwind and Max Move, or you beat up Max Move. If you beat up Max Move, but then Bulldoze drops Coballion speed, so we KO Whimsicott, you don't get Tailwind up, I get a defense boost up, and if you knock out Latias, well, that gives me a free switch in. If you don't knock out Latias, then I can just Tailwind as your Urshifu comes in and outspeed. So, yeah. Alright, last game of the day, and this is a really cool team. Obviously, it's a Coalossal component, has Coalossal with Dragapult, but then you have Snorlax, Rillaboom, Glastrier, and Indeedee. Okay. So, have to definitely be a little bit scared of Belly Drum Snorlax. It's just pretty interesting, because normally you'd expect like a Trick Room user on a team comp like that, but they don't have one. Fini with Life Orb obviously is incredible against Coalossal, right? In fact, because we're max speed, we might outspeed Coalossal under Tailwind, to which we could just lead Whimsicott Fini. Now they are going to prioritize Rillaboom as a result. Could be max Snorlax. As we just did the calc though, Fini survives against Glide, even in terrain, so that's very good to know. I mean, I kind of want to just go Whimsicott Fini here, because otherwise Dragapult Coalossal can actually just put in too much work. Yes, if they lead, Rillaboom is going to give us somewhat tough time, but we can pivot around it at least. Latios doesn't make that much sense here, so I think it's Metagross and Urshifu. I think Urshifu's a must here. They don't have great fighting resists or immunes, so yeah, that feels like the best option. Alright, so let's see. Yeah, that last game, I don't know. I just played really subpar with the lead, but my opponent also played... Like, they found a really good turn 1 play with that max airstream onto Gieleki. That was like a perfect play on their end. Oh boy, it's Snorlax plus Indeedee. This could be a pretty big problem, actually. You know, we have banded Urshifu, so that's good. Banded Urshifu is very helpful. Unfortunately, with us being as fast as we are, we don't have terrain control. If we had terrain control, we could actually fake tiers, which would be so nice here. They're not seeded. I don't really need a Tailwind here. I think turn 1 we just Moonblast into Snorlax and Muddy Water. I expect them to go for a Follow Me, but because we have banded Urshifu, close combat still deals pretty well with Snorlax, even if it's Belly Drum lax. Really don't want to miss Muddy Water though. That's like one of my main fears right now. Okay, did not speak it into existence, so that's good at least. Yeah, I mean that's great damage on a Snorlax. I'm pretty happy about that. Get an accuracy drop. Should be Belly Drum, yeah. Okay, wow, I haven't seen Belly Drum max lax in a long time, so that's pretty cool to see. I had no way around it based off this turn 1. Wait, what? They don't have a berry? I'm very confused by that. Okay. Huh? What's the item on this thing? Oh, is it Custap Explosion? Why would you... That doesn't make sense, though, with Belly Drum, but I do want to be careful of Explosion here. Okay, I think I'm just going to Tailwind and protect this turn. Yeah, there it is. Okay. They're going to switch out maybe in a Dragapult, and then you go for Explosion. Yep. That's fine. Honestly, this ends up being a pretty good start. They could also miss Explosion right now, or Self-Destruct, I guess. Which would be so funny, because we had that accuracy drop. Yeah, so there's Self-Destruct. Okay. Goodbye, Snorlax. Alright, Fini protects it. Okay, it would have been funny to see Whimsicott dodge it, but you know what? This is okay. Like, in the end, I end up getting Tailwind up. They don't get that much out of their Snorlax. We hang on with our Sash. And we still have Metagross and Urshifu in the back. So, it could have been pretty bad if I just gave up Tapu Fini there, right? As soon as you don't see a berry on Snorlax, or like the healing berry, you should assume Custap. Otherwise, like Life Orb or Assault Vest are viable items, but obviously not on a Belly Drum set. Oh, I guess theoretically you could run Belly Drum and Life Orb, but that doesn't make very much sense at all. So, the idea behind a lead like that is to try to cheese your opponent, maybe pick up a double KO, you know, just get to +6, pick up a double KO, get the free switch-ins. But this is perfect for us. They have Dragapult and Coalossal, which means they didn't bring the Rillaboom out. Which is fantastic. We outspeed right now because we have Tailwind up. We have Metagross and Urshifu in the back. So this should be a locked game, I think. What we do... The main thing is I want to cover for the option of Ally Switch. And I think Moonblast into... Oh, actually, we can always just Hailstorm here. Yeah. I just want to play a little bit cautiously right now. Well, I guess if Dragapult Ally switches, Coalossal would switch over. So, actually, I'd rather Geyser here. I think Moonblast plus Life Orb Geyser should KO. Actually, if you have Ally switch, though, why do I care? I shouldn't, right? Nah, I targeted Dragapult here. I think I overthink this. Overthink. Overthought. Oh my goodness. Overthought this turn too much. But the reality is that if Coalossal doesn't have its weakness policy activated, I don't have to worry about it very much. And we have so many good resources in the back where I feel like we can... Like, Moonblast Geyser here, the only thing that doesn't cover for is Dragapult protecting here, but you so rarely run Protect on Dragapult in this team. And the Moonblast Geyser into Dragapult... Like, the only other fear is that Dragapult's actually bulky enough to survive that, but Moonblast itself should do, like, 60%, so I think Geyser should finish it off. So this covers for everything bar Protect Dragapult. It also covers for Ally Switch, which I feel like is my opponent's only out right now. And Ally Switch is actually something that can be a really good late game out. So there it is. Thank you to my opponent for making me look smarter. Yeah, that should be game over. Like, the only downside where this doesn't work out is if they actually have Protect on Dragapult. But even if they do, what's the worst case? They Vocalith into Tapu Fini? Like, that's fine. That's really okay. And that is the beauty of Life Orb Tapu Fini. Nice. Great job, Fini. Fini did fantastic today. We just had to not get cheesed by the Custop Explosion, because as soon as we don't, we're in good shape. So we get that knock. I mean, there's no way for my opponent to win now. They needed to bring Rillaboom because they had their only answer against Fini, based off what they brought, was basically the Explosion into the Tapu Fini. So as long as we protected that turn, we were good. And in the end, like, Life Orb Fini is just so good into so many teams. Like, as long as you can figure out how to deal with the Rillaboom and put yourself in positions where Rillaboom can't one-shot you, Fini can one-shot so many things. So today is all about Tapu Fini. I feel like we had a decent advantage here as well, just in terms of the matchup. So, yeah. Either way, we can just Moonblast here now and Starfall. But that's exactly why. Like, Ally Switch... I've actually lost a lot of games to just not considering Ally Switch. Like, I'm like, oh, I have such a big lead. And then, like, the thing about Ally Switch is that, like, with something like Dragapult and Coalossal, you do expect it more often. But, you know, I've seen it on stuff like Clefairy, for example. And so that move can give your opponent such a big out because, you know, you end up making a play in which you think you're going to get, like, guaranteed damage on a one thing. But then, like, in that position, imagine if I Moonblast Geyser into, like, if I Moonblast Dragapult Geyser into Coalossal and both of those get reversed, then I get really nothing off that turn. They end up probably going for Volcalith. Now, the reality is that that game was probably wrapped up anyway because they lost Snorlax and traded, like, 70% of damage onto Indeedee for basically nothing, right? To bring Whimsicott down to its sash, basically. But we still had Metagross and Urshifu in the back, so I felt pretty confident about winning that one just because we had the Tailwind up. The Fini was able to outspeed both the Pult and the Coalossal, and then Urshifu is so good for late game cleanup against that as well. And then Metagross can just Earthquake as well. So that was a game in which even if, like, Ally Switch came out, we probably didn't need to be that worried. But because we already had a huge lead, like, Moonblast, like, you just go for safe plays where you can, like, equally trade with your opponent. And like I said, in that last game, the worst case, if they have Protect on... Actually, I guess the worst case is them maxing Dragapult and, like, Life Orb Max Phantasm knocks out Tapu Fini. But I don't think that would KO us. And even if that were the case, like, you would just give me a free switch into Urshifu, and then at that point, Urshifu can just Wicked Blow. So, in the end, like, my opponent basically didn't get anything off with that Snorlax, or very little, and we were able to capitalize off it. Either way, though, definitely been a fun set of games. Game 3, I'm really sad Latios couldn't pick up that KO, but not a KO I should have been expecting. And like I said, Latios Metagross was the clear lead adjustment to make in that game. So that's why team preview is important. Of course, you can win even if you have suboptimal leads, but you have to work harder for it. And sometimes, you know, you just miss clear options. And in that third game, that very much was the case. But had a lot of fun with this Latios Metagross Tapu Fini team, so I hope you enjoyed. This episode really highlights how strong Life Orb Tapu Fini can be. So if you're looking for a really strong offensive option in the format right now, you should definitely consider it. So thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.